Okay.
By the way.
I'm opening the meeting, calling meeting to order. It's 5:30 of the Citizen Review Board for December. We have a quorum. I think everybody here is familiar with the way we do our agenda, so we will move right to board action items. Approval of November meeting minutes. Renette sent minutes out by email. Any questions or comments? Well, let's have a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion for approve minutes as is.
May made a motion. Who seconds? Priscilla seconds it. Any discussion of the minutes from November? Are we ready for a vote? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Any extensions? Okay, everyone's in favor. Committee assignments. Did you do a printout of?
I didn't, we just talked about it,
Okay.
and that everybody pretty much is aware of what committee that they're on, and I'll send it via email, but I forgot to print it out in this list.
Okay, so we'll get an email of committee assignments and we can review and approve those next month. Board officers, at the January meeting, we will vote for next year's board chair, vice chair, and secretary. So invite everybody to think about if they want to renominate and approve the Peter, Hatisha, and Dana for those slots, or if anybody else would run forward. Yeah, Mr. Grinnell's is sitting there.
He'll be here in a minute.
I'm sorry, Peter, can you just repeat what you just
Yeah,
said?
in January, officers, we have 3 officers, chair, vice chair, and secretary. I'm the chair, Hatisha is the vice chair, and Dana is the secretary. Those are 1-year terms.
Okay.
So in January, we will have to fill those slots for another year, and I would just ask anybody to think about if they would like to recommend any changes, and get in touch with me between now and then if they do, or if we want to renominate those people. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, chairperson's report. We have a document, I thought I would get it done by tonight, but I didn't. We approved a few months ago a document that talks about attendance participation requirements for the board. I'm just going to turn that into a form for people to sign. So I'll send that out so people can look at it before the January meeting, so that when the new terms start in January, everybody can sign that form, because we wanted that to be taken seriously and have everybody have a chance to sign it. Annual board training, we'll talk about that with board development and training. And term expiration. I think we've heard from everybody whose term was expiring, and they had already talked to whoever was appointing them. Do you know if I'm right about that?
I know the mayor's appointments have all been renewed already. I know that that Cliff needed to reach out to somebody for the at-large to make sure that you were going to be reappointed.
Reached out to Ms. Fandiago.
Okay. All right, so we just need to make sure.
Am I reappointed?
Your term wasn't up. It was, so I'll follow up with them by email tomorrow, just to make sure that
I'll
you're,
follow up again as well.
yes. I would suggest that you reach out to one of the counselors that have been on there a little longer, because she doesn't get her appointment until January. So you need to be renewed before then,
Okay,
and so that's kind of.
got you.
Okay.
And you still waiting to hear back from Joe?
Yes, I didn't get any documentation from him yet, so just shoot him another email and just make sure that they get the legislation in, so that you can be reappointed starting January 1. So, and same thing, I know your counselor is not being renewed.
The new person, right?
So I did talk to the new person, Pat Hogan. Were you able to talk to?
He called me.
Okay, So that should be, I know that one probably will have to, that might wait. If not, I can touch base with Chad Ryan and, you know, so I'll send an email to those counselors as well.
Okay, the annual administrator evaluation has been completed. Our administrator's overall rating was exceeds expectations. So I just need to get that form signed by the committee members. Committee members from the board were me, Lori, and Cliff. So that's done. I just need to get it signed and get a copy to Renette.
We have to sign it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll get that.
You got it with you?
I do.
We'll sign it right now.
Can I see it?
So, yeah, we can pass it around. Administrators report.
So I bring you greetings from the Use of Force Summit in Ucansville, Connecticut, where there were about 500 to 600 attendees. It ranged from every rank and file of nationwide, police departments, troopers, sheriffs, throughout the country. We spent 4 days together learning about use of force, learning about the proper way to complete investigations, officer-involved shooting investigations, use of force investigations. We talked a great deal about video evidence and how you're able to review it and the different programs that are available to ensure that you're receiving an original copy of the video that is being provided, how you can frame it and things of that nature. So it was a very nice conference. This is my second year going. Most of the time when I talk to someone that is in law enforcement and they find out who I am, they're very thankful that I'm there, and they're appreciative that we take the opportunity to go there and to understand some of the force science information. We reviewed a lot of video so that they could go over proper procedures and protocols and documentation and report writing. They also had a session that had to do with the public's opinion of us, which I thought was very informative. And I thought that, and my suggestion is that they do that at one of the initial day sessions, so that so it's not a choice class, but that that everybody in law enforcement thinks about what the public perception is of you, because I think that is very important. And the attorney he's an ex, I believe he's an ex-chief, but he's also an attorney. He did a very good job explaining, how it was important about the officer's demeanor and things of that nature, which they understand is the number one complaint that this community has as to how officers approach them and how they talk to them. So I thought that it was very informative. I also got to meet the sheriff that arrested Ted Bundy. And so that was very interesting, and he did a very big presentation about that case. And I know there's going to be a big story on one of the, is it 48 hours or something of that nature is coming up soon, so it was a good opportunity to speak with him. And other than that, it was just good to be in the room and to just listen to how they feel about oversight. I mix and mingle, I don't sit at the same table every time, just to kind of hear, the thoughts and things of that nature, and then just to let them know that, we genuinely want to know what's going on. So that was good. Activity.
Before you move on, are there any takeaways that you can share with our SPD?
Absolutely, and I plan to.
The point is, will they be receptive to it?
Well, I come back from these conferences all the time when I go to the internal affairs investigations, when I go to the Use of Force Summit, and I always come back with a gamut of questions, and they're like, Dag, where did she just come from? So that's typically what happens, and so I'm guaranteeing that will happen again soon. So I had my list of questions ready for our police liaison committee meeting today.
I'm looking forward to sharing.
I am.
Okay.
So, the next, and that's the reason why we had to cancel our December the 5th meeting, was because I was in Connecticut, and it was quite a treacherous ride there and a treacherous ride coming back. So in terms of that, it was to our benefit to not try to hold the meeting and me rush back. Activity report, we have received a total of 7 complaints, new complaints in the month of November, making the total ending out November of 89 complaints for this year. We actually, you'll get the numbers for December, but we're well on our way. That I expect us to hit somewhere around 95 or close to 100 before the end of the year, annually. So currently, like I said, if you look at just November, up to November, we're at 89, and I know we're already actually on 93 for what's come in from the beginning of December. We will review one very detailed case in executive session tonight. That the board has been provided with information. The reports, as I am drafting reports and looking at reports, I'm trying to figure out ways that we can include some of the data that is on the SPD website into our report, so you can see the numbers in terms of what use of force they get, they report, and what use of force we report. And so that's the delay. And the report writing is because I'm trying to figure out how I can put that into our report that would make you be able to do a comparison as to both departments, and I think that that would be important. And so the reports will be done as soon as I can finish that. We've had an incredible last 2 months so far, I would say. So it's been really busy with other things going on that we'll talk about in our committee reports, but it is a lot going on, and I believe that it's to our advantage, and it's been beneficial for us, but it is time consuming for one person to take care of. So
Yeah, before we go into committee reports, I want to back up and add one thing to the chairperson's report. Last night I went to a forum on the new transgender policy, and you have a copy of this right after the reports in your folder. Forum was sponsored by, I think it was a consortium of Black Lives Matter, and I think it might be Blackcuse. I'm not sure the name of the other organizations. There was a panel of 6 or 7 people, mostly transgender, several of them people of color, and some of them had worked with the police department on developing this policy. They're not completely happy with it, but they're happy that there is something that gives officers guidance in dealing with people who are transgender. One of the discussion points had to do, there's a bunch of definitions here, and they're using the term transgender for any person whose gender identity or expression differs from the sex they were assigned at birth. So a fairly broad definition that, and they talked about different labels that people with different characteristics are using for themselves, and they said they wanted to stick with the broadest definition of transgender people. And it talks about how those people are to be treated by police officers in terms of addressing them, in terms of medical needs, in terms of transportation and housing and so forth. Some of which, of course, impacts the county, because if somebody goes to jail, now they're county rather than city, so there are implications for that. So this is a first try at sorting some of that stuff out. So we may need to ask the department with some training. My understanding from that, there was nobody from the department there. This forum was not for police department. I went mainly, I wanted to listen. When someone raised the issue of accountability, and they talked a little bit about Office of Professional Standards and CRB, I made a couple remarks to clarify some things, but mostly I wanted to listen to what they had to say. So, new policy, new expectations for officers, so we may have to be aware. I also mentioned that we were not hearing from transgender individuals generally in complaints.
That's not
And
true.
if they had complaints, we were someplace they could go. I mentioned that we are not assured that we get everything that goes to OPS, so people should come to us as well. May?
I was gonna ask, so based on what you heard last night in this policy, how will the PRB be informed on how to view cases if we were to get some?
So currently, we do receive cases of people that are transgender. We have, you might recall an email a while ago in which we were talking about the appropriate language on our complaint form to allow them to be able to identify themselves in the manner that they chose to identify themselves. So we do have, we have received cases related to transgender individuals, and we will continue to proceed in the manner that we do. Typically, if a person is preferred to be addressed as a female, I will address them in that manner. So I do whatever is necessary to make them feel respected and listened to. I do think that it's, I would mention that I'm happy to see that the complaints directed to the Citizens Review Board did make it into the policy. So it was at least some sort of acknowledgement that we are a entity that receives complaints that OPS has to review. But past that point, I'll leave the rest of that, and I would look forward to reaching out to some of the people that Peter talked to in the meeting yesterday, so that in our recommendations that we make related to the policy, we should include some of those things that the constituents would like included into their policy.
And I would think that we definitely would treat them, you know, with the same cooperation that we would anybody else, as far as somebody or a person filing a complaint.
Well, that was what I
Regardless of
wanted
trend.
clarity on in regards to like demeanor or racial profiling or any of those things. How
So if
that-
they allege that in their complaint, we're gonna treat that, and they're just going to have to tell us how they feel that, you know, we have the box on there that you can state that it's, whether it was gender bias. So, you know, if they feel that they were treated that way based upon their gender or identity, or, then that's something that we'll address. And as long as they can articulate it to me as to if that is that. I do know that we've had complaints about just the approach of the officer to a person that is transgender. So some of the focus on their policy had to do with their initial interaction with regard to them, which seems like that has been some contention in the community as to how they will address them based upon just their outward appearance. And even once they notify them that they are transgender and they prefer this particular, it has not been acknowledged. They still treat them in the manner in which they would like to.
And what about the county search procedure? Will they?
That's different because that's the county. So that is something that would have to be the policy. Once they step into the Justice Center, they are now under the control of the Onondaga County Sheriff's Department, who mans the jail, and that's something that we don't have jurisdiction over. But I will say that we have the Justice Center Oversight Committee that is able to assist those individuals who have complaints about their treatment at the time that they're at the Justice Center, and that's who they should refer those issues to.
And
Okay, so can you back it up to the arrest point?
Correct.
If they are patted down, do we address?
And the policy, it addresses that, and they would have to, again, articulate that that is the part that they feel they have been violated by during the search of their person. They have to articulate what is the complaint, which is what they would have to do in order for us to know what their complaint is about. So is it about them feeling as if, one, it's about how they're addressed. If they prefer to be addressed as a female opposed to a male, that's one complaint. Then if they feel like they based upon the gender, the identity that they seek, if they're now searched in a manner that violates how they would have to articulate that in the complaint as well. And again, you're talking about searches should only be pat downs on the side of the road. It should not be an all-out search on the side of the road. That should happen in a closed area, which would happen at the Justice Center.
And Barry Gawanter, who is the County Human Rights Director and Chair of the Justice Center
Oversight Committee?
Oversight Committee, similar to the CRB, was at the meeting. She has a good understanding of these issues, and
Yep.
we'll be following up. Dan?
Yeah, I hasten to point out over in, on the second page, procedure 23.11, number 5. That's generally what is used in all cases. Everyone's treated the same way. And as far as patting down, it depends on circumstances, it depends on location, but the most important part is an officer has a right to protect his safety. And that has to come high in the list of things to consider. And so treating somebody differently because they're black, Asian, transgender, Hispanic, whatever, there's no place around that says that we should treat somebody differently. Everybody should be treated equally, and that's what number 5 says, and I agree with
But
that.
men and women are not treated identically in terms of searches and pats downs, and
That's true, but-
related to this issue here. So that's the department
I
policy.
understand, and beyond using the proper pronouns, which is apparently listed several times in here.
Right, so we'll have to watch what happens with this. It's going to have a lot to do with training and supervision.
Can I ask a question that you may not know the answer, but I'm gonna just put it out there? Right now, does our SPD patrol car have male and female riding together?
It kind of
Generally, no.
depends. It depends on the shift.
That does happen,
happen.
although I don't know, it depends on the personnel available that night to work. It has nothing to do with policy.
Procedure would be when they're arresting a female. Huh?
We need to just wait and, yeah, we can't make assumptions.
So we may have some questions for Police
Yeah,
Liaison Committee to clarify
That's something we need to
this.
clarify in the Police Liaison Committee as to what their general procedure is gonna be. I mean, I couldn't tell on a day-to-day basis whether or not they're, what is the makeup of the patrol beat and things of that nature. And so,
There isn't a procedure for male and female?
not that I've read, so I don't wanna make an assumption and say that, oh, okay, this is how it is, because I think it depends on who's available on the shift and who is available if in fact you do need to do that type of thing and you need a female. What if a female's not working that shift? So I don't want to sit here and make that assumption or have anybody to assume that that's what's happening. So we need to just wait and see and address those questions and concerns to the Police Liaison
As soon as
Committee.
that committee is rescheduled, we'll have some discussions about this.
Yes.
Dan, last
So-
question?
Yeah, toward that issue that you pointed out, I have been in situations before where females have been arrested, and there's no female working in the Syracuse Police Department. We seek other agencies that may have a female working that can come in and, just for the purpose of search.
Okay, so we'll ask them
That
about those
happens,
policies.
and it happens in the other direction as well.
All right,
So.
thank you. And Cynthia?
And I can just say from experience, when SPD has been called, there wasn't a man and a woman.
Yeah, there
So it
isn't
seems to me
always.
that, I mean, unless you, like, I called 911 one time and I asked them, please don't come to my house with your sirens going. So if you say, maybe if you specifically say, send a specific,
We are going to have to ask those
Yeah.
questions about how they'll handle that. I doubt if they've figured it all out themselves. This is brand new.
me
So-
too. Well, it's not that new, but it's
This is the first time we've had a transgender policy, so this
Gotcha.
is,
First
time we've
this
had
is
it,
new
okay.
for
The
our
actual
department.
policy.
So it is new, and they're gonna have to figure out how this all plays out.
how they gonna address it, okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, committee reports?
Oh, really quickly, the budget
Sorry,
information is in your folders. You can see what we've spent so far. If you have any questions, you can ask me later.
Did we order tents yet?
No, because the clerk's office is working on the tent situation. because it is a certain procedure that we have to utilize, and I can't just go to Amazon and buy us a tent. So therefore, we have to use.
Even if you got Amazon Prime?
Yep, I can't unless
Okay.
I'm paying for it myself, and then
is the
the look
clerk's office
for
working on it?
reimbursement. Yes, so
wouldn't,
they are working on it. I've given
Will
them
we have
the.
one by spring, you think?
I'm hoping that we do. The same thing with that additional banner, that was requested, or tablecloth. It's over in that area for, processing and.
So my banner hasn't been,
No, because there is a process.
Slow.
All right.
Okay, committee reports, community outreach and public education.
We did a presentation. Lori attended the last presentation that we had, at the Helio Health. And it was interactive. I did a presentation the other day at the TNT on the east side, at Nottingham High School, which I thought was attended well, and they seem to enjoy the information that we have been provided. I know that we still have to reschedule our TNT meeting for the north side because it was the same day as the big storm that kind of hit sometime, and so they said that the meeting was canceled. So we have to reschedule that one. So far this year, we have done most of the TNT sectors of town. So we have done very well with regard to that. December gets to be a little slow for community outreach because of the weather and holiday parties and things of that nature going on, but we've done fairly well throughout the year, which I'm happy about.
Yep. Board development and training. Our full-day training session is scheduled for Saturday, March 21st, 8:30 to 4:30. I'm waiting to hear back from Hatisha about whether we can use the 1199 space that we've used before. We have arranged for Bob Andrews. I get the name right this time?
Bob Stewart, and
Bob
we're working
Stewart,
on.
sorry.
We're working on securing him based upon the funding that we may have to pay his fee. So, we are still working to make sure that we can utilize that and what budget area we will utilize for his fee.
So we're looking at probably a half day of his time, presumably about 3 hours.
Yes,
And Pete Wilner from Interfaith Works is available, about maybe an hour and a half to talk about sort of board process and how we're doing with some of the issues that we talked about with Pete and Melody last year. So that'll fill up our day.
Is there, I'm not sure whether you know this or not, but I'll just ask anyway. Is there a way for the people who were there before to put us through the same thing again to see if there's been any change or
I think
improvement?
that's, yeah, that's
Oh,
right at the
what we're
core
talking
of our
about.
agenda.
Okay, okay.
Based on what we did, how
Okay.
are we doing?
I misunderstood
Yeah,
it, I
that's
think.
sort of the
Yeah.
the outcome. Thanks, Dan. Okay, government relations. Go ahead.
we had a large government relations meeting, and I would like to have the opportunity for Lori or Dana to speak about our large government relations meeting, and provide us with their feedback as to how it went. Don't all start talking at once.
Dana looks like she wants to speak.
I'll tell you who was there, give them a chance to think
There you go.
for a second. So it was Lori, myself, and Dana, and Renette from the CRB, Deputy Mayor Sharon Owens, Steve Thompson, who is the chair of the Public Safety Committee, Joe Driscoll, who is on that committee, Chief Buckner was there, and Councilor Khalid Bey, and Councilor Mark Rudd, who is also on Public Safety.
Tim Rudd?
Tim Rudd,
Mark
thank you.
Russin.
And our attorney attended the meeting,
Our
and
attorney.
Corporation Counsel attended.
That's right.
It went the way I expected it to. A lot was said, but nothing was really accomplished.
I think we did sort of come up with some general goals. And while, I'm not sure they were the best general goals, while the discussion was on resolving some of the older cases that are past the 18-month window, and I don't want to say sweeping them under the rug, but saying, okay, those are done because we need to move forward more proactively. And as Renette pointed out, some of the out of the 18-month periods are some of the more egregious ones, and we don't want them swept under the rug. So we agreed that we need to find a better way to address the old ones while still keeping up with the new ones, but there wasn't really any consensus on how that could be done without sort of ignoring the old ones. So there was those discussions we were having.
I was encouraged by the chief.
I agree.
I think that he committed to working harder. I think there were things that he didn't know, he didn't realize how many cases were backlogged. At least he didn't seem to know how many cases were backlogged. And he's at least making commitments to review things, and now with the discipline procedure is going to change as well.
Yes, because of the court case out of Schenectady that we talked about before, where it says that hearings will be held with regard to disciplinary proceedings in which somebody makes some sort of appeal, that they had to be held public based upon Schenectady. So they're still working out that process. And so therefore we don't know where we kind of fit in and where our recommendations kind of fit in. Because they're still developing that part, we don't know where we stand. As it states, we all agree to discuss the things that are continuously not working between the two departments in terms of what I feel that the department is not doing in terms of the Office of Professional Standards, putting it in writing instead of verbally telling them every time we have a police liaison committee. So I'll put that in writing for them. I will share again the list of the 2017 cases and the 2018 cases that are still outstanding. So I'll share that again. And that we will then begin to come back around the table and figure out what progress we're making. They are making some changes to the Office of Professional Standards. And so with that being said, we have been steadily pushing for them to make the necessary changes, but also allowing them to see the things that we knew all along were issues with regard to the Office of Professional Standards, but it's not always in your best interest to lay it all out there for them. Sometimes you got to let them see it for themselves. And so we would provide them with information about the issues, but then let them see internally what the issues were. And then we would just co-sign, yep, things of that nature. So this has been the process that we have been undertaking as the chief has been brand new and getting acclimated to the department. But I think he is well aware of what has been going on between the CRB and the Office of Professional Standards. So with that being said, again, I'm an optimistic person, so I can only think that it's going to get better from here. It's just how long it's going to take for it to get better. I did, continue to express my frustration with regard to the 2017 cases that were outstanding, the 2018 cases, and that as of the day that we met, I already had 80 new cases, or more for 2019. So if you don't hurry up, the 18-month deadline for which an officer can be disciplined from the date of the incident is fastly approaching on 2018 cases as well as 2019 cases if the person did not file a complaint directly after the incident. So we're always going to have this issue. We have talked about the department's ability to use the 18 months as a reference point for them instead of the 30 and 30 rule for the CRB. So technically, when you file a complaint with the CRB, the police department has 30 days to investigate that complaint. Our office has 30 days to investigate that complaint. And then you have a hearing if the board votes for a hearing within 30 days. So the whole process should be resolved within 90 days. And that has not been happening. So We have been, continuously, letting them see that that 18-month deadline is not the real deadline. And I think that they're starting to understand where it comes into play. And so we continue to try to move forward and push forward and let them know that we are concerned about all of our cases and that they need to expedite this review. I mean, we want them to do a fair investigation and a thorough investigation, but we got to figure out how we I shouldn't still be having 2017 cases.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Who initiated the conversation? One question. And two, how do they prioritize the case load?
So, we had discussions previously, and we were always supposed to get back around the table, and things kept kind of coming up. We had this meeting on the books for November, and then it had to get pushed back. So it's been that they were supposed to work out some things with regard to the Corporation Council's understanding about things. We previously talked about that there was a memo in which the Corporation Council drafted, in which it was going to explain her belief as to what the CRB was supposed to receive based upon her knowledge. And then we had our attorney then made a rebuttal. So this was, we've been doing lots of stuff in between the time to get back up to the point where we could sit back around the table. And this was us sitting back around the table and still hashing it out, which again, it's still not resolved. But we are going to schedule the next meeting in January so that there is not as much of a gap in between. In hopes that we keep the ball rolling, because cases are still coming in and people's lives are still being changed by interactions of officers every day.
So the deputy mayor brought up that we should get back together in January so that things don't drag out. So it was very clear that there is some interest from City Hall and accountability on the part of the police department for the things that they've been very far behind on. So that's one of the things we're feeling optimistic about. We think the chief has a much clearer, nothing brand new came up. We've mentioned all these things, but I think we're making some steps, and the chief has done some things and he's committed to do more. So we are looking forward to see the changes that we hope to see. Dan, did you have a question? You had your hand up.
I have a simple question. How many cases are currently in arrears here?
So we have at least about, what am I talking about, 14 to 17 cases from 2017, I think. Somewhere around 30 or more cases from 2018. And then again, we've got 85 cases for 2019 as of right now. So you're talking about well over
100 cases.
Yeah, 100 cases that are probably.
Those are the ones we know about. Those are the ones that have also been complained to the CRB. We have no idea if OPS has cases we've never heard of.
Okay.
So, and to answer your question, Ms. May, about the, I can't tell you how they prioritize their cases.
Can we make that?
I mean, I've been saying, hey, the top priority is to address the 2017 cases. We still have 2017 cases.
So we can hold them accountable to.
I mean, there's the only people that can hold the Office of Professional Standards accountable for their processing of cases is the chief's office and the mayor's office. The only thing I can continue to do is communicate to them that we have these situations. I can't tell them how. I can make suggestions, which I have, with regard to how they run the Office of Professional Standards, but I mean, those are the people that can hold them accountable. It's not, Yes, Dan.
Does our charter allow for us to receive the cases that come into OOPS?
Yes, so we send a
Why don't we
reminder.
just do that, and then we have a form letter that we send out to these people and say, we're available if you need us?
So what happens is that when a complaint is received by the Office of Professional Standards, it is supposed to come directly to our office. I can't send a letter out to a blanket citizen if I don't know that they actually filed a complaint with the Office of Professional Standards. There's no way for me to know. So what we do is every Friday, we send an email to the Office of Professional Standards to encourage them and ask them whether or not they've received any external complaints by a citizen this week, and if so, can you forward it? Prior to this point, we were just waiting for them to send it, but now we send a reminder every Friday so that they know they should be sending this over. They are well aware that when people get when people file a complaint with their office, it should be immediately sent over. In our legislation, it says within 1 business day. They are well aware of that.
But the complaint being sent over to us is one thing. The other thing is for them to do their investigation in a timely manner and then send the investigation over to us so that we can then review the case, because we can't do that till we get it from them.
Maybe it would be worth our while to have a consultation with our attorney, not the Corporation Counsel, our attorney, and find out if there's any penalties involved for not complying with the terms of the contract and the legislation. And if there are, then we should enforce that.
We can ask that
Well,
question.
the
Why
only
don't we do
thing
that?
that we did the last time was sue the city when the department was not complying with them providing us with a response from our findings letters. That's the only thing that we have as of right now. I'm not sure, Dan, if there is anything other than that we have currently under our legislation. It doesn't give us the right to issue a penalty or anything.
It doesn't have to.
But what I'm telling you is that the only people that can enforce that, other than us suing and saying that you're not abiding by the legislation, we don't have any other redress as of right now.
That's the redress I seek. I think that that's something that we ought to consult with the attorney on.
Dan, we can ask the question. What we have right now,
I'm
I'll
giving
tell
you
you
the
how.
answer that we have.
I'm not
We
trying to
don't-
be difficult here. I'm trying to resolve a problem that
Right,
seems
but
to be
listen, this is how
lingering.
City Hall is
But this is
looking at
what I'm
this.
telling you is the way that we've resolved it in the past, and those are the only,
And how'd that work out?
so the Second Circuit agreed that we had our ability to have independent counsel. They agreed that we had independent subpoena power. They agreed that the police chief needed to respond to our findings. So that's what I'm telling you has worked in the past.
So
That's
we
what I'm
have a
telling you.
precedent already, and if we have the legislation and a precedent from a previous lawsuit, I can't understand why there wouldn't be a penalty for failure to comply with those rules. And
So right now, I'll tell you how City Hall is going to look at this. We have a good faith process in place where both sides are sitting down, hopefully on a monthly basis, because if other meetings are canceled, we're going to demand that we come back. And the deputy mayor was very clear, we've got to meet next month. We can't let this go on. These are important issues and we expect action on them. So we need to assume that that's going to work, and if it doesn't, to put some pressure on City Hall and the council to make sure it happens. I mean, I'm not ready to call a lawyer and sue the police department while we're engaged in something that the mayor's office and the Public Safety Committee is supporting this process, and hopefully we're making progress. We'll know next month if we're making progress.
Well-
We're meeting again next month.
Because if the chief has some action steps about the backlog of cases that we made clear about, we'll get an answer about that. I mean, that's the biggest indicator. That's the biggest issue on the table, is those old cases that we're not hearing about. There are other issues on the table, but, I mean, in a sense, this was a meeting that should have happened a while ago. The last meeting was, what, 4 or 5 months ago? And it should have been more frequent. So we're going to have these meetings more frequently and see if there's progress. And before that, before we can make that decision, I'm not ready to call in a lawyer and say sue the city.
Well, obviously I am. But the bottom line to this is, we are currently in a struggle for recognition. We've been struggling for
You're
this.
always in a struggle for recognition. You're absolutely
We're
right.
not going to get out of that struggle for recognition unless we begin to stand up for our own self. We can't allow other people to dictate how we're going to do it. And we have a lawyer, We have a court order that says we can have one. We have a court order that says that we can enforce that. And how's that, if we haven't had a meeting in...
Recommending that we wait till after the January meeting and reconsider your suggestion.
Okay.
And you,
I don't think that, I think that the time for waiting has pretty much run out. I'm tired of waiting. It's time to do something. And if we can't do anything, then we're our own worst enemy.
Okay, Lori?
If we hadn't met this week, I would say I agree with you. But we met this week, and at the meeting, the chief said, I'm looking at this, I'm gonna see what I can do to
Yeah, well,
fix
how
it.
long is he gonna look at it?
He has until next month when we meet again.
Well,
But I don't feel comfortable 2 days after having someone say to me, I'm gonna look into this and try and fix it, we're gonna get together next month, now turning around and saying, well, we're not gonna give you that time that we told you 2 days ago we're gonna give you.
but let me say that I'm not saying that. What I'm
Okay.
saying is that we can consult with our attorney without having to tell anyone else.
We always
But we
consult with
need
our
to
attorney.
know where we
I
stand.
have no
and
problem with asking
But
our
we-
attorney that question.
We always consult with
Well,
our
let's-
attorney. Our attorney is always at these meetings, so the same things that you're talking about, if he felt like it is time for us to do something different, then we would be coming back to the board and having those discussions. As of right now, as everyone has said, we are agreeing to come back to the table in January, discuss and see where we're at, but he's at every meeting that we have so that he has the proper information so that if the lawsuit section, time comes, we're well prepared. I don't want you to think that we're not thinking of those things as to what else we can do.
All I'm-
It's always on our mind.
All I'm suggesting is that part of that preparation is to go in there. Whether we say anything about it or not is another question, and I understand your reasoning for not saying anything, but that doesn't prevent us from getting the knowledge. Let's find out where we
I've agreed to ask the
are.
attorney your question, Dan. Is there anything else?
No.
That's what we do every
Okay,
time we
thank
bring
you.
him to the table, is that we acknowledge that we need him to be prepared just in case there is a need for us to go another route. If not, we would not bring him to the table every time.
I'm not saying that.
Is there any other comment or question on this issue?
I just have a comment. You said that now we're sending over an email every Friday. And how long has that been going on?
Since Mattia started,
And how we doing? How do you feel that the feedback is working?
I think that it is. I think that it's a reminder that, we're looking out for it. And, typically, it'll come over very shortly, thereafter. So they had some changes most recently, so it had been a little bit crazy. But after those changes and people are getting in position, there's still a transition period, but we still know that there's work to do, so we still email them. They'll get an email tomorrow asking them, have they received any complaints this week? And that's our way of, reminding them, hey, you should send it over. But I don't want to be sending them an email every day like, did you get a complaint today? Did you, you know what I mean?
I agree with you.
No, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
that's why we do it every Friday.
Friday.
So that they're aware that we're looking for whatever's gonna come in that week.
Okay.
I want to mention that, on December the 17th at 10:30 a.m., there will be a meeting of the Finance, Taxation, and Assessment Committee. And the purpose of this meeting is to discuss the labor agreement between the City of Syracuse and the PBA for a period of January 1st, 2018 through 2022. So I would encourage anybody who can attend. Again, it's December the 17th at 10:30 a.m. And it's about the labor agreement between the City of Syracuse and the PBA.
What's the current status of the contract?
So they had while I was at the conference, they had a police, a public safety meeting about the contract. All I could do was watch it by YouTube. I'm not sure if it has been signed or not. I know they had the public meeting to discuss some concerns, and there was, but I don't know if it's been voted on or not.
You said the 17th, which is what, Monday?
Tuesday
Tuesday.
at 10:30.
It is here?
It's in the Common Council chambers, yes, at 10:30 in the morning. Okay.
Okay, anything else on committee reports?
The police liaison committee and the police relations committee, as we talked about, it was supposed to have a meeting today at 9 o'clock. That was rescheduled unexpectedly. I should be getting a call, from Mark Russin tomorrow as for another date. And as soon as I have another date, I will advise the appropriate people.
Tell him he owes me $8 for canceling 2 meetings after I already paid for parking.
I know.
Okay.
Also, just in police relations, Peter and I did do a presentation to the new class.
Oh, yes, that's what I want you guys to talk about.
The class that graduated last Friday, last Thursday. It was supposed to be Friday, but then they changed graduation. I'm not really sure why.
Because of the storm.
I wasn't sure how that,
Yeah,
how
because
it
of the
related,
storm,
but-
it canceled, some presentation it canceled because of the storm, so then they
so
had to
Peter and I did a
reschedule it.
presentation on Thursday to the class. It was 32 recruits, I guess I call them
32 or
recruits,
35,
cadets,
something like that.
whatever. And I think the thing that I was most impressed with was the trainer came in, he introduced us, and he left the room. So it was just us and the new guys and girls. So I think that was so that they would feel that they could say what they wanted and we could say what we wanted. And the presentation needs to be tweaked a bit, but for the most part, it went well.
Lori and I talked about it afterwards, and what we needed to do, and I realized afterwards, is we got very few questions or comments from them until right at the end. I asked them what they learned, and some of them did at that point respond. What I would do next time is do something very early in the presentation to get them talking a little bit, to expect them to ask a question, make a comment, talk to each other, whatever, so that we'd liven it up a little bit and get to hear from them. It's, it's not an environment where they're going to speak right out in front of their members of their other class, but there's ways to do that. So overall, I think we were able to express our points, and they appeared to be very attentive and polite and listening, and put appropriate expressions on their faces when we tried to make points. So I think it was okay. I think it could be better. Anything else? Any new business? Okay, we'll go to public comment. The way we do this is anybody who wants to speak, please come up to the mic, and you can have up to 5 minutes per person. Who would like to speak? Please introduce yourself and tell us why you're here. The microphone right there, sir.
Phone's right there.
Microphone is right there. Microphone is right there.
I'm Dr. Jay Levy, and I had a car accident on Franklin. Butternut comes this way and Franklin goes that way. And car came off of 81, came around and hit me broadside. And he told me that right after the accident happened, that I went through a red light. Then I must have realized that he wouldn't get anywhere, so he told the police that I cut him off, and he came straight from Butternut, and I cut in front of him. That light there has a green arrow, left turn only, and I was making a left turn. I was 2/3 into the left turn when he hit me. And the police department failed to recognize the fact. I got documents that there is a green arrow light. They said it doesn't exist. And I had documents to show that. I had pictures. They refused to talk to me. And for 2 years, I didn't know what the hell to do. Finally, the mayor told me to go to you people. And I've been waiting over a year, and they're just dragging their feet, the police. They don't want to do anything. They don't want to admit they're wrong.
Were you injured?
No, I hurt my neck, yeah.
Was the other?
I'm all right now.
Was the other party injured?
No.
Did you go to
My
the
car was
hospital?
totaled.
Did your insurance company pay for it?
Yeah, I paid for it, but I got charged, and they canceled. They non-renewed me because of the accident.
So what I'd recommend you do is to call our office. Renette will be there.
Already been to the review board, and they're still waiting for them to respond. They're not responding. And it keeps going on and on and on.
You filed filed it.
It's going on 2 years.
Okay, so you have filed a complaint with the CRB?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So we don't
I don't know what the hell to
discuss,
do. My insurance doubled.
we don't discuss individual cases in public session.
I understand.
But we hear your complaint and we will give you a call.
Yeah, they told me when I called the review board, they said, we haven't heard anything, we're still waiting. That's the only answer I
Okay.
get.
So,
I know.
here's something we were, just for everybody's information. This is what came up a little while ago. When complaints come in, people can complain either to the Police Department Office of Professional Standards
I already did
or
that.
to the CRB, or both. Wherever the complaint goes, to which agency is supposed to be shared with the other agency, essentially immediately. So if we get a complaint, we tell them, they get a complaint, they tell us. We don't know whether those complaints are always shared with us if they come to the police department.
Right.
What we do know is we can't do anything until we get their report on the investigation. So, if we haven't received a report on an investigation for a year or 2 or 3, all we can do is ask. If that's the case, if we haven't gotten your report, I suggest you go back to the mayor's office, because we can't make the police department do anything. This is what we were talking about.
Well, what I was told is the new police chief was gonna get this thing straightened out, and they're waiting to hear from them. But I did
And we hope he does. Like we said, that's what we've been pushing, is to get all those old cases to us so
Right.
that we can deal with them. And if the mayor's office and the chief's office hears from citizens, that might help a little bit. So if
Well,
you've
I've
done
been to
your
the
job,
mayor
which
and
is to
they
submit
said to let 'em
submit your
know
complaint to us,
if nothing's gone through, and I told them, and they said, go back to the review board. That's all I get.
Can I just ask, when was the last time you had, contacted someone in regards to that?
In the mayor's office, you mean?
Whoever you did, the mayor's office?
Here, I called about a month ago. I called here for like about the 4th or 5th time, and they said, like we told you, we're still waiting from the police chief to go back to the old files
That's true.
to review everything, and they're way behind in everything because the previous police chief didn't do a damn thing. That's what I was told.
Okay.
so we will ask
was
about
told
your
that-
case.
Hmm?
Go ahead,
Sorry.
Cynthia.
And you were told that by the Citizens Review Board, or you were told that by the mayor's office?
By the review board.
Okay, thank you.
I talked to the girl. I called several times. She keeps telling me the same thing. And what happened, I went to the police, what is that?
Office of
Complaint
Professional
Department?
Standards?
Yeah.
Yep,
And the guy, it sat on his table for 3 months.
there you go.
I said, didn't you get the stuff that I sent? Oh, yeah, but you don't know what you're talking about. That's what they said. I said, it's a green arrow light. He says, it doesn't exist. And I had documents to show it, pictures to show it, and they refused to acknowledge it.
So
They don't
his
wanna admit
boss
they're
is the
wrong. That's
chief,
problem.
and the chief's boss is the mayor. I think we've done what we can in terms of trying to work on all those old cases and get them turned over.
Well, the mayor's office is the one that told me to go see you people.
And so you have to tell the mayor's office, I've talked to CRB. They say they can't do anything because the police department won't do anything. The mayor is in charge of the police department. So talking to the CRB.
That's why I went to the mayor in the first
Talking to
place.
the CRB won't do you any good. We're doing everything we can.
I know you can't. They're just dragging their feet. I mean, this happened in 2016.
I hear you. Thank you, sir. I'm sorry it's not going well. We'll keep working on those.
Okay,
Thanks for coming. Other members of the public would like to speak? Okay, thanks.
So,
Go, please.
Can you just, I can't let the moment go by.
Okay.
This is not okay. I just want to make sure that we say that it is not okay that cases are still pending. And I don't want anybody to walk away and feel as if you shouldn't keep calling us and you shouldn't keep checking the status, because that's how I would have walked away based upon that exchange just a moment ago. So I just want you to know that you still should continue to call us. You should still see if we have received it, and we are going to keep advocating for the fact that the case needs to still be processed and reviewed in a timely manner. And so I can't sit here and just be okay with the way that interaction just went and have people think that, oh, we can't do anything. No, we can continue to make the pressure. You continue to file complaints with us. We will continue to follow up. We will continue to let the mayor's office know that the police department is behind. We will continue to let the chief know that his department is behind. But please, please, please know that we are doing what we can and that you should continue to contact us.
Question, can you file a
Thank you.
complaint against a complaint?
May?
Can you file a complaint for a complaint not being responded to?
Probably.
If a citizen wants to complain about the Office of Professional Standards from the citizen's point of view not doing their job, we'd take that complaint, I think. Thank you. Sorry, would you like to speak?
Sorry.
Introduce
Yeah,
yourself.
my name is Sharon. So, I agree with what you said, but I agree with everybody else said that. When is enough enough? Like, and I really felt for that man there because it's been a long time, like he said. My incident that I just had was the day before Thanksgiving, so I know I'm devastated by what happened to me with the police. I wasn't like arrested. I didn't commit any crime. I just simply walked around the corner from my house and I was waiting for my lift, and there was something going on, but I wasn't a part of it. And it's just the accountability that I want the police to have. You can't just, I was thrown off my feet, and I have a concussion, my arm was hurt, I'm a nurse, I haven't been to work since then, and I asked for them to call an ambulance for me. Nobody called the ambulance. I called a lift to the hospital. I wound up getting 6 stitches, and where's the accountability? Where someone couldn't radio for an ambulance or nothing, it's nothing.
Did you file a complaint with us?
I did.
Okay.
Yep, I did all that. So my main thing is I'm shocked when I look around the room. There's only a few people here.
Did you file a complaint with the Office of Professional Standards?
Is that the form? I
I
think,
don't
yes,
know.
I did too. I filled out another form too.
Did you file a complaint with the police department as well?
If she files a complaint if a person files a complaint with our office, it's going over to them. They should not have
Okay.
to go from our office over to them to file a complaint.
Okay, so
So I went to the CRB office, and then I filled out an actual form that someone sent me when I left the emergency room that day. But my thing is no one's coming and complaining about stuff, because when people do, they feel like this man felt. Nothing's happening. So,
Right.
I don't know, people are calling me, people are saying, when's the rally? Enough is enough. Now we need to get violent. Now we need to do this. But it shouldn't be that. I didn't say, let's have a rally. There's people ready to have sticks and stones and all, but that's not necessary. I go to a lot of forums. I'm active in a lot of stuff. I see you a lot of places. I'm a good person. I called an attorney. You know what he said to me? Well, what were you arrested for? I'm I wasn't arrested. I didn't do anything wrong. I live downtown. I pay good money to live downtown. When I left the bar where I was, when I came outside the bar, the police were standing there with their billy clubs in hand like this. There was nothing going on. So they said it was a riot. Yes, it looked like a riot. I felt like those riots you see on TV, that's what I felt like coming out of, I was shocked. I didn't see them going and getting any people of non-color. The people who I seen them hitting with those billy clubs were people who look like me. So that's why. There's hundreds of people downtown. People were falling out, people were disorderly, everybody should get in trouble then. But there's no reason for you to come out and you see people standing in the street with billy clubs and running. That's how I got thrown off my feet. Smacked my face. My arm is still bruised. My elbow is still messed up. Why is that okay? And I understand you guys are backlogged, but the police are still doing it because there's no accountability. They can do it. Then after that happened, then a police officer sent me a message saying, why did I make a post? Why did I say that? Why is that okay? It's not. It's not. I'm afraid to walk my dog because I live around the corner from the police station. I don't know who's friends with who. I don't know who told that man to send me a message. I don't even know who the officer's name was because he didn't tell me what it was. I took a picture of him because I couldn't even see what his name was. So what are we supposed to do?
So I would suggest that, I know you've already come to the office.
I have.
And I would suggest you contact your common counselor. I would also suggest that you write a letter to your mayor and explain to them, in detail in a letter as to how you felt with regard to the interaction that occurred. And you can write in there that you filed a complaint with the Citizens Review Board, things of that nature. But I would say that those are other avenues that you can take. And as I stated, once we get a complaint in our office, it gets sent over to the Office of Professional Standards, so they're well aware of a complaint when it comes into our office. So please continue to do whatever you need to do to make yourself as whole as you can be based upon your interaction, and keep contacting our office, keep contacting your local elected official and also the mayor's office to push them to make the police department to adhere to the standards and the legislation to get these cases resolved as quickly as possible. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Any other comments from public? Okay, I'd like a motion to go into executive session so that we can talk about our cases for the evening. Somebody move?
I second.
Cynthia moves, Priscilla seconds, and this meeting is now adjourned to executive session. Thank you for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
Happy
Thank you,
holidays,
Mustafa.
Mustafa.
Yep.
You can have it.
How you doing, Chris?